I do things kind of old school still. Believe it or not, all of my jobs are done by hand. I hand write out every single expense on every job. I take a picture of the receipt and I store it on my phone. And then I go through every single job and figure out how much profit we brought in.
So welcome. We have Drew Prince on with us. He's the owner of Oakard Homes. Welcome, Drew.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
So yeah, I mean, if I'm inviting you on the podcast, one of the comments Drew made offhand, he's like, "I'm hoping you start it right." So ideally, that's the goal. So excited to have you on. I know it's been a long time coming to get you on, and maybe we start here. I think one thing that's unique that both of us have had, we kind of had a unique bathroom shower design that did pretty well on social
We
media.
did.
So walk me through
Oh,
yours.
yeah. My wife came up with this idea that she wanted. Actually, I think I showed her the picture of yours, and she's like, "Yep, I want that." And because I saw it and I was like, you know what? I haven't seen an arched glass that's that simple with like the black border, and it makes it really a challenging look because I don't think anybody really makes it. There's very few people that make that. So I showed it to her and she's like, okay, we got to have that for the next build. And so funny part is I actually just reached out to your glass guy, and then he actually shipped it up here, and me and him have become good buddies. So um, we're a lot alike. So it turned out pretty good.
That's good. So you're speaking of Brandon with GCS Glass, right?
Yep, Brandon, great guy, and he's very helpful with the whole process. I actually did the template just all by myself and made sure it was all 100% correct and shipped it down to him, and then he took care of me. And yeah, it went crazy. I mean, it still goes crazy every time we post that. It just goes viral. So I think we have one of them is like 8 or 10 million views on it, but every one of them is like at least a million.
See, and I think that's what is really important. I mean, there's a point there you're making. In general, I think a lot of us overthink social media to an extent, right? Whether it's
Hmm.
Instagram, TikTok, analytics out there. And to your point, Drew, is what's interesting is when you find something good. I, I know Instagram changes. I know for a long time, no matter your followers, we have a decent following, but even with our following, when I post stuff, 5%, 2% may see the post. And so
Hmm.
you know, it's very, I've seen accounts that do really well and they post the same content over and over. They may
Hmm.
recycle it over a certain amount of time, but you can
Yep.
be really successful using the same content, maybe in a different aspect or look. And sometimes it's the exact same one. I have this like window to door automated connection, this pass-through, bar window. And I've probably posted it 6 or 7 times. And every time without fail, it does incredibly well. And
Yeah.
so when those posts do really well too, you're going to see that it's typically the those that aren't following you are following you. When you have 10 million views, I mean, let's be honest, Drew, for you, that most of that audience isn't following you. So that's why you should
Yep.
your good content, recycle it and reuse it.
Hmm. Yeah. My brother is, he does all of our social media, and he's kind of mastered that plan. I mean, our social media has grown a lot over the last year or so. But just,
Playing the
taking
hits.
advantage. Yeah. Playing the hits. Sometimes it surprises you what people like, this one build that we did, the laundry wasn't very good. I was not a fan of it. I love the layout, but the tile I thought ruined it, and or the grout ruined it. Sorry, and it just went crazy. People loved it. It was the talk of the town. Everybody wants to get a dog shower like that. Oh, it's okay. So yeah, but my brother's done a good job with that, figuring out what works, what people like, and the videos hit way more than the pictures. We used to just post up before and after pictures of everything that we did, and realize that pictures have way more value, at least to trying to reach people. People don't like to scroll, and
Mhm.
picture one, two, three, four. It's more the video content that really catches people's eye.
Yeah, it's a good point because, when you talk about playing the hits and just in general, the social media side, I think a lot of us get caught in our own way. And what I mean by that is that, sometimes we may spend a ton of time editing a video or have this great video we think it's going to go, do really well. And it doesn't. We may
Mhm.
think it will, but it doesn't. Then you have something that you may not be as appealing to you, but then it hits the audience. And so, that's why it's important not to overthink it. But at the same time, there was a time when in the past you could do that before and after, and maybe you even write
Mhm.
in big captions before the next one after, and those did
Yep.
really well for a while. Um, but to your point, video seems to be the way of the future. I mean, video is where things are going from YouTube Shorts and TikTok, and there's a huge competitive space in that video, and people do like to watch video, right? And they like to see stuff in a different angle that they probably normally wouldn't see.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. It did start out before and afters. Like I didn't see a lot of people doing that, and we were posting everywhere. Social media, from Facebook, um, like community pages, all the way to Instagram and regular our Facebook account. But people love the before and afters, and then they started to slowly die down. So, but yeah, video seems to be the hit.
Well, going back to the shower door, what's interesting, a lot of people have asked questions about that shower door, and to speak here, I'd imagine you did the same. Is that from
Hmm.
pictures, it looks like it's like an arched black iron door, like it's metal
Yeah.
with the glass insert.
Hmm.
And I tell people, no, that black frame you see in that arched door is actually etched. It's etched into the
Yeah.
glass, so it's a solid piece of glass, and you can never tell that in video or photo. It's just something until you're there and
No.
you feel it, touch it, or know, then you can see that.
Yeah. Yeah. There's a lot that goes into that door. It's not. You definitely have to know what you're doing, right? Um, you can plan that door wrong for sure, and if you install it in the wrong place, you might not open it.
So walk
But
us through
yeah,
that. Walk us through the technical side of the install.
um, yeah. So when we got it, Brandon informed me. You got to push it to the outside of the wall. If you put it even, a quarter of an inch too far in, the door will open and the top of the arch will actually hit the wall. So it has to be all the way to the outside as far as it can possibly go. And so yeah, we ended up turning it out perfectly, and we loved it. Brandon said that's exactly what we ordered and the exact size. So it was a huge hit when we sold that house. It was a spec house, and so people ate up that bathroom. It was definitely the talk of the people that came through to see it. Everybody was talking about the bathroom. So
Yeah,
I
it's
was glad you
amazing.
did it.
Well, it's awesome. It's fun when you have that. That's the benefit of social media is that we could share good suppliers and vendors and subcontractors, and
Yeah.
maybe walk us through how social media has affected your business, because I think that's a really easy, low hanging piece of fruit. That, hey, anything else outside of business development, that, we're on this podcast, Drew, because of social media. We follow each other. We've been friends for a
Hmm.
while.
Hmm.
The collaboration, as you mentioned, the shower door we had, and how, that's accelerated your business. And from something as simple as a shower door, benefits of social media that you found.
Yeah, I mean it's huge. When I started this business, it was always my thoughts to be able to bring the environment that you spend on a job site into somebody's house, so that when they get into a project, that they already kind of understand. They can feel it. They've seen a demo. They've seen all the steps that it takes to get from a, something that you want to remodel to a finished product. And so that's kind of how I started. I wasn't seeing a lot of people doing that on social media. It wasn't super big 5, 6 years ago, and it's really taken off where contractors are consistently doing that. It was always like, hey, John did my bathroom. Can I get his number? But you never saw any pictures of what he did. There was no real proof. It was just what your mom or dad or your cousin said, and they told you, and you kind of went off of that. So I think people started getting burned so much over the years that social media has been a really good way to build trust with them. And so as I've grown, and even from the start, it was always showing those before and after pictures, showing videos during the project. So again, people can get a feel for what it's like to be inside a remodel or a build.
I do like that contrast because, unfortunately, in our business, right, there is a reputation of contractors, and there's, it goes
Hmm.
back and forth, not just from, maybe a financial aspect of being burned, by the client. I mean,
Hmm.
there's definitely always a couple sides to the story, but in a lot of cases, contractors bear the brunt of running a business that maybe not be at the forefront with their clients. And um, social media is a way where you can build a personality, you can build, as you mentioned, process. And walk us through that strategy, Drew, because I think that's a little unique. Not every, a lot of builders are consumed about, or designers, architects. I'm going to show you the pretty picture, right? That it's furnished, everything's in there, everything looks
Mhm.
great. There's something to be said about the thought leadership or the process or the educational side of it.
Yeah, and we don't do enough of it. Honestly, I wish that it doesn't seem like we have enough time in every job. You're trying to get through everything to really show all the little details. But we used to do it a lot more. Where we would show different components to the project, plumbing, electrical, the whole nine yards. But really, it's just a way to again get people more involved in understanding. It seems like today everybody wants to research and understand different components of life, how to plant a tree, how to build a fence. People want to be able to do stuff on their own without having to hire people. So it it's become important that they understand different components, and I think that's built trust with our customers. A lot of times, I show up to people's houses, they know my name, they know who we are. um, they've spent years following us, waiting to save money to be able to do the project, just by literally showing who we are and what we do, and how our projects turn out. So it's really been a huge component to our business, and helped us build brand recognition, and partnerships, and people trust us. We give back to the communities that we work in, and our name is our bond. I've always felt that that's the most important thing. Every job that I walk into, you're not going to get 100% of them right. Sometimes you're going to mess up. You fix them and you move on. Uh, some people you just can't make happy. Unfortunately, we live in that world. You can do everything and it doesn't turn out. But for the most part, people are very happy and it turns out great. And that job turns into more jobs, turns into more jobs, and turns into more. So, but yes, to get back to what you're saying, social media is a huge component, and we'll continue to use that as a foundation for our business.
It's amazing. How have you seen, from a business development and like lead generation from social media?
It's huge. I mean, a lot of people will reach out and say, hey, we've been following you for a couple of years on Instagram or Facebook, uh, or they'll message us on there. We still have a lot of people that find us, organically through their agents. A lot of agents, use us as a referral, but you know, it's, don't we don't invest very much into that, besides obviously my brother, who does it as a job, obviously. um, but we aren't spending money on advertisements on social media, so everything is just organic. We used to try to do that, but really it didn't do much, didn't bring us much business. It was mainly people asking a lot of questions or spam. But building it organically has definitely given us a better foundation. And I think um, having a large following does help people to like see who you are, and you know give you a value, I guess.
So I want to go back to the brother aspect. I think that's interesting that your brother's doing social media. Like, is this something that he was in marketing or social media? Like, how did that relationship, cultivate?
I think he's always just been really good on the computer. And he did other things, like he helped start a business doing video and photography. And so that gave him a nice foundation, and he's grown from doing that over the years, and then working with me and kind of learning this business. He does other things as well with us, but that's a huge component of what he does. And having your brother involved is always great. He's a lot younger than me, but which is a benefit to us because he's a lot smarter with the computer.
I love that. And how does a lot of people struggle as they're working with their social media rep, whoever's doing it, on content, like what to
Mhm.
post, what's the write up, what's the, the correct strategy, if you will. So how do you collaborate running your business? Your brother's doing social media, you know, you probably don't want to micromanage him, but how does that communication work?
Um, right now, I mean, for a lot of it, he just kind of goes with it. He does a good job, and I don't have to check on him. There are times where he'll ask me questions, or I'll ask him to post something. But for the most part, 90% of the time, he knows what to do, how to do it, and I don't really have to say much. So he takes care of it.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Going back to the other business development arm, you mentioned that you have realty agents and realtors that will refer you. How did that
Mhm.
relationship start? Like, how have you built enterprise there of realtors?
That's a huge component of what we do. I'm sure that you work with a lot of them too. Real estate agents talk to lots of people. Those people are buying or selling their house, which means that they're typically going to be doing a remodel or refreshing up their house. And so it's helped us build relationships. They started from just me reaching out years and years ago, and then doing projects for their customers and doing projects for them. So we have lots of some agents I don't even know. They just recommend us. Never even heard of them. So, and people will call me and be like, "Yeah, I got referred to you by John Smith," or something like that, and I'm like, "Oh, okay, sure." And so, yeah, I mean, it's just doing the right thing, helping the agents out as much as possible, and building those relationships, and they trust you, and you do good work for their customers, and then they refer you to the next one. So, especially in the areas that we work, a lot of nice houses and people that want their projects to turn out really well, and they trust their agent who trusts us. So,
Now, going back to the realty side, and this is probably a question you may or may not get, but I know a lot of builders and even architects, there's a lot of realtors will be like, hey, Drew, if I'm going to bring a client your way, commission structure, how have you navigated that aspect? Because is it just word of mouth that they're, hey, I just want you to take care of my client? Or do you look at this as, hey, I'm going to market my business anyway. So maybe there's, from a lead generation standpoint, I'm willing to, compensate you.
that's a really heavy duty question because uh, we have our own real estate division of our company now. And so it's kind of a double edged sword. Some agents take it the wrong way, that we'd be trying to poach their customers or something, which is definitely not the case. Um, but we don't do any sort of kickbacks for them. We just try to do the right thing and take care of their customers. And for years it was, if I knew somebody that was looking to get a realtor, then I'd hand that off to them, things like that, which was helpful. But now that we're in the market, it kind of throws things off a little bit. um, but I think for the most part, they still trust us to do the right thing, and having strong relationships is definitely the key there. And people knowing that when it comes down to it, you're not going to try to screw them. And we've always been fair with every single agent that we work with.
So why the strategy to have your own realty group? Are you guys doing development in your own projects?
Yeah, I mean, we're doing spec houses, and so it just makes a lot of sense, saves a lot of
Hmm.
money. Um, we've always kind of, my wife's had her license for a while, but she kind of took a break from it for a bit, and then now she's back into it for the last year plus. And so it's just doesn't make any sense to be paying other people for work that we kind of do in house. And so it's been very helpful. So, um, and a lot easier to just navigate. Sometimes you feel like you waste people's time and showing them things, or wanting to buy a lot, and you feel like you're holding them up from getting paid because it's on feasibility for 6 months, whatnot.
Hmm.
So having your wife doing it, you know, just both of us are benefiting.
Hmm. Yeah, that's incredible. How did she get into realty?
We started flipping houses years ago. I think it was like almost 10 years ago. And I think it's just something that she always liked. It's something we were both always passionate about. And so, one thing led to another. She took some time off, but now she's back into it. And it's very helpful.
It is nice. I mean, it's hard with a grown family when you have kids and working through it. I mean, how are you working through that balance?
Yeah, that's tough, especially, once they get to a certain age, they're doing sports all the time. And,
Yeah.
we've got two little ones that are playing a sport, at least one sport every, um, every
Season.
season,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so, at one point this winter, we had one of them was in three sports and the other one was in two sports. And, it's like, oh, so what practice are they going to miss this week for the
Yeah.
other one? So, it's teamwork. You know, you got kids. It's a lot of work, a lot of patience.
hmm
Easier said than done, but yeah, it really takes both of us and some help from other people to really get it all done. But it's fun.
Yeah.
Wouldn't do it any other way. I like being busy. I can't sit around very long. When one project's done, I'm already like halfway through another one. So
So how's the business evolved? You mentioned that early on you were doing flips, you and your wife, and that kind of, enhanced this education and doing realty. So that as you're doing your own specs, you're pretty
mhm.
seasoned. Um, why construction?
I've always kind of had a passion for it. My family's been involved in the construction industry, their whole life. So all my life I've been involved in it. It's mainly exterior stuff, but I had a passion for interior a lot, and um, you know, you just see what other people are doing. I had some friends that were involved in flipping, and one thing led to another, and flipping wasn't really my style. I don't like doing things for cheap.
hmm
I don't like going to the store and being like, well, we got $2,000 to spend on 5,000 square foot of flooring. It's ridiculous. I'm not a huge fan of it. It's a really cutthroat industry. I like doing stuff that's nice, good quality, gonna last a long time, and something that I can put my name on. And in 10 years, when somebody decides they want to change it, they're ripping out of the walls, and it's really challenging, really challenging. Um, so,
It's funny. I think we align that way. What I found really challenging about flips is the same thing. A lot of us may have started there. I didn't really do a lot of flips early on, but I had some opportunities to do so. It's really hard if you're trying to build a brand of quality and reputation. And
yeah.
it's not to disparage that industry. It's just you have to know where you align as a business. Like what lane do you want to play in? How are you building your business? And it's no different than like build the suit to being a developer. I mean, it's a different hat, right? And there's different decisions to be made and coordination to be done.
Yeah, I mean that's it right there, nail on the head. It's a cutthroat industry. It's challenging, but doing things that turn out beautiful and last a long time is more important to me. Because, like you said, it's your name. It's that value in there. So
Well, you mentioned you do remodels and renovations. You also do specs and custom builds as well, right?
don't really do custom. I prefer to do specs. I know you do a lot of custom. Um, it's I do so many remodels. You're in the house for a few months with people. 10 months plus is a long time. It's a marriage at that point. So it's to me, I haven't really found that to be an interest of mine. I do have a few prospects right now that are really interested in us doing the work for them. Um, but I'm not sure if I'm going to go that route 100%. I may do one and see how it turns out. There's a little bit less risk on your end by doing it, through a custom. But I really do enjoy specs and being able to just pick out whatever we want and have it be exactly how we feel it should be. Because like I said, we do a lot of remodels. We're doing full downstairs, full houses, uh, you know, primary bathrooms, and so those are a lot of work in themselves, and that's a lot of choices to make in a project. So I haven't found an interest really in doing a full build for somebody,
hmm
and spending that much time, really picking out that many details. I don't know how you balance that. It's a lot of work, and um, you got to have a real good team. Real good team. I know you do.
Well, it is tough. It's funny you bring that up too. We actually just had our production meeting. And I mean, we do production meetings as a company every month. We just had a leadership meeting, and you're kind of working through the pain points of a company, from growth to systems and operation and, creating, some workflows. So then that way that baton handoff is pretty clean. I feel like it's something we've been working on for 10 years. I don't know how you ever get to that perfection side, especially in our industry, but there's definitely a lot of coordination. It's no different for you in the field, though. I mean, just you doing remodels. Do you self perform a lot of the work that you do, or is it all subcontracted out?
Yeah, not right now. We have a few guys, and then a lot is subcontracted out. So it gives us a nice balance of the two. And it's not an easy industry. There's the workflow is up and down. You really got to have the next thing in the hopper started before you get to the new one, or before you finish the one that you're on. So it's not easy for a lot of guys to find good guys to keep on staff. I've been lucky. I've had the same guys for years now, and so it's given me the ability to be able to step off the job site a little bit more and be able to work on the workflow aspect of the business, and also our spec builds, which have become a huge component of what we're doing now. So um, taking me a lot of time off the job site, which my brother is now spending a lot more time on the job site, which is, like I said, he's doing the social media, and he's also doing some project management as well.
What do you attribute? You mentioned that you've had, low turnover, good retention. Any specific things or processes or, you know, culture you've created that attribute to that?
I think it's a combination of a few things, like my plumber and electrician, they always say that we're always ready. You know, when they show up, I don't tell them, hey, it's ready to trim out, and them show up and we're still in roughing. So it's, e- organization is obviously important. That's easier said than done. It's never a perfect science. Every job is different. But not only that, it's really just taking care of your guys. They never have to worry about getting paid. Everybody gets paid way before I get paid. When they send me the bill, first of all, the subs that come on my job site, they never even have to send me a bill or an estimate. They already kind of know where they're at because they've been working for me for so long that it's not even really a question. And then when they do send it to me, they're paid right away. Very rarely is there ever a question about what the cost was, unless I see that it's way over or something. But yeah, they're always taken care of. So sometimes they say, you know I pay them too fast. It's they send it to me, and 5 minutes later they got the money. So they really enjoy that, and because of that, it's giving me a distinct advantage. I think I've been able to do jobs quicker than other people, because not only having great guys, but guys that want to work for you because they know that when the job's done, they're getting paid. And there's a lot of contractors out there that will pay themselves before they pay their guys, and it's just not the right way to do things. So we've been fortunate, just by doing the right things, taking care of people, that the business has grown, and I've been able to take care of my guys.
Well, as you were sharing that, there were 4 points I gathered from just you communicating on that retention side and the relationships. I mean, you mentioned be ready. So there's a scheduling side we can touch on in a second, pay quickly, communication. I think the organization is key, though. And the reason I say that is because you mentioned how organization and pay quickly go together. For
Mhm.
a subcontractor to invoice you and you pay very quickly, one, you have to know the scope's done. So you have to be familiar with the project and where it stands. The big part of this, though, is cash flow. You need to understand your cash flow. You have to have good accounting practices, and you have
Mhm.
to know where you're at before you build a client. How have you built your business to be, sophisticated at this level where you do know the numbers, you do understand, so that when you are invoiced, you can pay that sub very quickly. That gives you that competitive advantage.
Yeah, that's been an ongoing thing that I've just kind of taught myself. Those are the little things behind a business that a lot of people don't understand. And then until you get into it and really start seeing the money coming in, the money going out, you're trying to figure out how to navigate it all. But I've taught myself over the years just how to cash flow things and how to make sure that guys are getting paid. And like I said, everybody gets paid way before I do. So when the job's done, everything's cashed out, then I'm paying myself. And it's made it smarter on my end. I'm comfortable with that, and I do a good job taking care of myself so that I can take care of the other guys.
So, are there any, piece of advice? Because I mentioned, I talked about the just knowing the financial side, and you mentioned that's something you've spent a lot of time on and dedicated yourself. in your company, Drew. Where did you learn that? The reason I ask is because I think many of us have the school of hard knocks, right? You've made these mistakes
Mhm.
and you're not going to make them again. And, you know, you take that a step further, maybe you learn from others' mistakes so that you don't make them. And then even a step further where you're becoming, as you mentioned, really knowledgeable and wise as far as accounting practices. How has that education or personal experience grown or accelerated, owning your business?
I do things kind of old school still. Um, believe it or not, I do all of my jobs are done by hand. I handwrite out every single expense on every job. I take a picture of the receipt and I store it on my phone, and then I go through every single job and figure out, how much profit we brought in. So I've always simplified it in that way. I think having I don't think you guys could probably do that with how many parts and pieces that you have going on and different builds at one time. It has become a challenge though with the spec component coming into play. Having different accounts for different components of the business has been my go-to to kind of separate the two. I have different QuickBooks for different components of the business. But man, it's just I've done research. Like I said earlier, everybody's trying to learn how to do things on their own, YouTube, um, and just self-taught. So it's been like you said, the hard knocks component. It's just been learning on the fly and getting hit in the face and then getting back up.
So, I mean, as long as you're willing to share, as you look back in your career, any mistakes that come to mind as far as the financial aspect, or maybe not charging for something you paid for, or missing a change order not being signed by the client, right? And then at the end, they're like, "Hey, Drew, I don't feel like paying this."
Yeah. Sometimes you get into those. It sucks. Having a good contract is very, very important. It's probably the most important component, even though, sometimes I think, do they hold any value? In the end, it's like, sure, let's say a customer wants to cancel a project, right? You haven't started, but you're 100 hours into it and your designer's already done, your cabinets are ordered, the counters are ordered, and the customer says they want to cancel, they want their deposit back. And you have to look at it. I try to look at it from different point of view is, your name is your bond. All it takes is like one person to say something bad about your business and it turns you sour. And sure, I could ask for that, to keep the deposit. And there's obviously times where you have to set a precedent, but um, that part of the business is rough. It doesn't allow contractors to really take advantage of what people sign on a piece of paper, because all it takes is those reviews. Homeowner, let's say, they work for Microsoft or something. I can't give them a review on how I was treated as a contractor, but they can
Mhm.
surely diminish my business because we had a difference of opinion on something. So that's one thing that's been challenging. I think, we don't get very many cancels, but once every couple of years that has come up, and it's been something that's been um, kind of tough to swallow, I guess.
It can be tough. I feel like we're in a tough spot, right, as builders, because you're estimating, right, and it's a
Yeah.
you're trying to capture all this content, and you're trying to, or not content, all this product and all this scope and labor, and you're trying to calculate hours. There's so many elements, and I've always thought it was interesting is when maybe you have a client that's like, well, Drew, just because let's say you missed something on your bid, you didn't see it, well, wasn't clear in the plan set, maybe could have been on a detail that you just weren't looking at, and so you miss something. And to your point, if you have a really clear scope of work, a really clear contract, you can protect yourself. But I've always found it interesting when you're like, hey, I just missed this. I didn't see it. It wasn't clear. I just missed it.
Hmm.
And you'll have a client be like, well, Drew, you need to eat that. Like, too bad. It's like, and I've always thought that was interesting because I'm like, imagine you go to Costco, right? And, the cashiers, scanning all of it and they forget to scan
Hmm.
two of your items. Like, And you realize that. I mean, you're the type of person who's just like, oh, too bad. You have to eat it. You miss it. You didn't scan it. Pack sand kind of deal. Or do you go
Yeah,
back and you're like, hey, I'm going to pay for those two items you didn't charge me, and go take care of that. But multiply that instead of the $100 store of Costco where it's maybe $100 of stuff they missed, and it's 10 grand
thousands.
of stuff that you missed on your bid.
Yeah, yeah. I've always said this, and I've always gone by, if I miss something, I will eat it. And I've been that way since the beginning. And there's been times I screwed up. I had one job not too long ago, actually. We were working with a new designer, and the scope of detail was really small, and I missed a few lights, and we had to rip up the drywall and fix the lights and put them all over the place. It was quite a bit of work. And, you know, go forward, go backwards, go forward, go backwards. So it was my fault. And, we just eat it and call it a day. Sometimes it's just like marketing. You do a good job, you fix the problem, you market your business, and you get another job. So sometimes there's more value in the next job than the current job by just doing the right things. And I've always thought that I should never go back. Obviously, if it's something that's crazy expensive, you could have a conversation with them. I've never had that situation happen before, um, except for on obviously like a cancel. And like I said, those are tough ones.
Yeah, they can be so tough. I mean, it's just such a tough business, and there's so much that you have to balance as the builder. And you mentioned, if you missed it, and I've always, that's something I've struggled with. I think there's a fine line though,
Hmm.
between hey, I missed something on the bid and it's not in the scope of work, as opposed to hey, it was pretty clear in the scope of work and
Hmm.
on the design drawings, and we didn't manage it well, and our subcontractor installed it wrong, and then we have to figure it out, or so I think there's always things that we want to be amicable on, and hey, this is operator and take care of. And then there's things that are legitimately, maybe not part of the original bid.
Yeah, it's really comes down to the project manager, the owner. Those people really watching the scope and making sure that they've got everything dialed in. We've toyed with different sort of processing systems to try to figure out what the best way to kind of organize the job and be able to have um, a simple plan that's everybody has access to at all times. I know I've seen a couple things that you guys have posted where you've done um, I forget what these things are called, like the little, I don't know if you can see that, these
The
little things
QR
right
codes.
here.
Yeah, we do the
The
QR codes.
QR, yeah, I love that. I've thought about doing that as well, for bigger jobs. I think that that's a great component. We've actually used like a house system right now, where we can upload files and schedule, and everything is all on one app. So that's been a new thing that we started this year. It's actually been really helpful because myself, the project manager, some of the guys on the job site, they're able to just pull up the app and try to make sure we have everything in scope. Sometimes it takes two or three guys to just make sure we got everything right. So, yeah, that's one thing that we've been doing lately.
What do you feel is the biggest pain point as you've grown? What do you see as the biggest pain point of just having, other team members and employees, in the field?
I think the hardest part is like taking a step back and letting your guys kind of fly, and balancing everything that comes in life when you own a business. It comes down to turning off your phone and knowing like, hey, this is time to spend time with your family, to, oh shoot, I was supposed to text the plumber and tell them everything's ready to go. You're texting them at 10 o'clock at night, like, hey, don't forget to show up tomorrow. So I think kind of getting a balance and being able to separate all different components of life and components of the business, and um, mentally being there in all the aspects of the business as well as your personal life by balancing everything. I think that's been the biggest challenge. It'll never change. You're always kind of growing and learning and seeing what works and what doesn't work.
What do you see as upcoming next, from a strategy standpoint?
We got some big plans right now. I think, we want to be doing a lot of big stuff. Like we see some of the stuff you guys are doing, we love it, and our weather's not as sunny, so we can't do those big pools. But yeah, I think really just our goal since we started Oak Art Homes was
Mm,
to become like a one source, one solution for our customers, so that anything to do with their house, whether they're buying, selling, remodeling, building, that they can come to us, and or even if they just need somebody for something in that industry or in that field, that they can come to us, and we can take care of them. So right now, the build side, the remodel side, that stuff is going great. We want to continue to build up the real estate component, for our customers. So a lot of people, they have agents or they've had agents, and we want to continue to build those relationships with customers, and so they trust us to do obviously their remodels or their builds. So we hope that they can trust us to help them buy and sell as well.
yeah, I like that. It's, you know, it, I like the desire to, increase, the company and focus and everything you're doing there, Drew. In your market, are you seeing a slowdown? I mean, what's the health of the marketplace?
I have heard that from other contractors that I know. We are not seeing any sort of slowdown. I'm still getting a lot of bid requests. We're seeing a lot of people for big jobs. I would say I've seen more people this year for full house remodels than the last 5 years combined in just half a year. And we're talking big, big jobs, big houses, 4 or 5, 6,000 square foot houses, full remodels. So I think people are not wanting to spend as much money, with the interest rates the way they are, and they're thinking, let's put money into what we got. Um, they've made money over the years on the stock market or whatnot, so they're pulling out money from there and reinvesting into their home to make it better than it is. So that's been something I've noticed. I haven't personally seen a slowdown. I think it comes in ebbs and flows. Some months are more than the others, but for overall, I think we'll do more overall business this year than last year, and last year more than the year before. So it just keeps going up. It feels like, but for us, we're not. I'm not looking to hire more guys to do more work on the remodel side.
Hmm.
I like our workflow right now, and I like my balance in life. And sometimes, to me, money can only buy you so much. You know, my kids are only going to be young for so long. I want to be able to spend more time with them and play sports with them, and all that stuff. So I'm not trying to create more stress on myself and more work. It's hard to find good guys. So if I had more good guys, we could probably make it work, but it's hard to find good guys or
Hmm.
girls.
It is tough. It's really tough. I mean, that's probably the biggest challenge. I've had a lot of experts come on the podcast over the years, speak about the hiring process and things to look for. And one of the interesting comments, recently is it's one thing to find good candidates, but
Hmm.
their comment was they're out there. It's just a lot of times we as builders or business owners have an operation that maybe isn't conducive to bringing someone on board. Maybe our systems aren't aligned, our processes, we don't have good onboarding. And when you don't have, any direction as a company, it's really hard to integrate good talent because they just get worn out. And, people like working for people. And, if they're not happy with their environment, they're going to move on.
Yeah, I mean that's really the truth. A lot of guys that are in the same industry in different areas, they told me they just run through guys like crazy. They're in for a couple weeks and out, and the next one comes in. It's just it makes it hard to build a rapport with people, and um, them to understand how you do things, what you want done. Simple things like the height of an outlet, or that, hey, we don't leave a job messy. It's just little stuff like that, that guys that are with you all the time really understand. And if you're having to get new guys all the time, that makes it really challenging to build that relationship and for them to understand what you want done.
Well, you mentioned your balance is really good. How is that balance between remodels and specs? Because those are totally two different mindsets, two different customer bases, two different really scopes of work. Doing
Yeah.
a spec home to a remodel. How do you balance that?
My phone doesn't stop ringing. Um, so it's hard, and they're in completely different areas. They're like the houses that we're building right now are over an hour away from where we spend about an hour away from where we spend most of our remodels. So it's more travel, but they're different groups of guys for the most part. The finishers are the same, but carpenters the same. But for a lot of it, they're different guys who are in those areas, and I have a few builder friends that have done work in those areas that have helped me find subs, guys that they've used in the past. So that's given me great opportunity to help build relationships pretty quickly. Um, but I'm spending a lot more time on that part of the field, and trying to balance between the two. So having that app as a way to guide the guys on the remodel job site all the time has allowed us to move forward. But it didn't come without a lot of struggle and challenge and learning. It's a week by week thing. We're learning every day how to make it better. It's not easy, but like I said, I'm fortunate. I got good guys. They do great work. They know how I like things done, and it's when I'm not there, I don't have to worry about things not being done right. Um, so yeah, it's a learning curve, but we're getting better and better every day. That's all I can ask for.
Yeah, that's the goal, right?
Yeah.
I know you're heavily involved, especially spec. You're going to be working through design. You're going to be, to some extent, on your renovations doing that. What design trends are you seeing?
Oh man, um, those slatted. Um, what are they called? The slatted wood tile is so hot right now. Everybody wants that. We did it like I think the first time was like 2 years ago, and it's just been going crazy. I don't know what the deal is with it or why people love it so much. I think it looks very sharp. We're seeing a lot of dark cabinets lately.
Hmm.
A lot of dark cabinets. What else has been popular? Backsplash countertops, all the way up to the cabinet. It's obviously that's been something we've done for years, but it's like everybody wants that right now.
Hmm.
Um, uh, really big. Everybody wants really big appliances. So the days of 36-inch fridges are kind of going away. It seems like 42 is almost like the minimum. Uh, that's big. What and obviously white oak everything. White oak, white oak, white oak. Nobody wants red oak anymore. It's just white oak. So um, we're doing a lot of white oak right now in our spec house, and a lot of dark. So we're kind of pretty trendy look we
Hmm.
got going on. But those are some of the big things I've seen lately. So
I think the tile one's interesting. Early in my career, I mean, this is like 20 years ago. I was working for Beth McGehee. She was a designer. And one thing she always taught me is that she was really big on tile all the way to the ceiling. So it
mhm.
was like floor to ceiling. Um,
Yep.
really big on not stopping tile on outside corners, only inside corners. So you don't see the edge of the tile, same as stone.
Mhm.
And it's funny how you're trained by a designer with a good eye and how that definitely changes your perspective of design, as you get later in your career.
Mhm.
Um, from your side, uh, how do you work with designers? Do you work with designers? How does that design team integrate in with, Okarth?
Yeah. So for the specs, my wife does all the design. And she asks me for my input on some of the stuff, but most of the stuff is all her, and I just say, all right, we'll just get it done. For our builds, we've worked with a few designers over the years, and for a long time, I pretty much did it all by myself, and it was just too much. So I brought on a designer who pretty much exclusively works with us, and she's great to work with. She knows what she's doing. She's really organized. She's awesome with the customers, and we have very, very similar tastes. So it's given us a distinct advantage in the industry because there's not a lot of remodeling companies that are like, hey, we have a designer, we work with a private custom cabinet company, they don't have the same things that we can offer. So it doesn't feel as organized or as, I don't know what the word is. It just doesn't feel as professional. It's like how we used to be back in the day where it's me, I'm showing up, I'm the one writing the contract, I'm the one filling everything out, I'm helping them with all the design. It doesn't work that way. Unfortunately, um, to really do it right, in my opinion, it takes a lot of people. It takes a village, and not everybody's good at. You can't be good at everything, so you got to learn to delegate, and you got to learn to bring in the right people to do the right things. And so the designing aspect has become a huge component. I thoroughly enjoy working with our designer. She does a great job. It didn't come without having some challenges in the beginning because they all do stuff differently. So sometimes I get stuff from one designer and I'm like, this is just crazy, the amount of detail. And then sometimes it's really, really simple. But um, yeah, I think it's always great. It's very helpful. It's been awesome. All of our customers have been very happy about working with the designer. I don't even tell them. I just tell them it's included. And there's no way to do a job with us unless you're working with our designer.
I love that. Yeah. The designers make a huge difference. I mean, we started the conversation off on that shower door. I
Hmm.
didn't design that. Our designer lifestyle co did. You have it. Designers, I
Yeah.
mean, they make a huge difference with the creative side. And again, that benefits the client, it benefits the resale, it benefits the opportunity for us to be successful on the project marketing, right? That's just another point.
Hmm.
What's some of the best advice you've been given?
Uh, Gosh, I don't know. From who? From
Anyone, like mentor, wife, like parents, I mean, anything, coach.
Man, you know what? I think for myself, I haven't had a lot of mentors. I wish I had guys that I went to. I'm such a weird person. I feel like I learn by failing. I feel like, and so I do have the guts to just ask people when I don't know. Like I asked you about the door. A lot of people wouldn't even ask. I really want to do it. Um, I think since I was a kid, it was always just like no risk, no reward. That's always been my thing. Is like if I fail, it happens. I failed. I had a roofing business and fell apart, and I didn't do a good job. I didn't know what I was doing, and so I think it's just picking up the pieces and moving on. You're not going to win every single battle, and you just gotta always just keep moving, take the risks. And we've taken a lot of risk in our family, from buying houses, flipping them, buying houses in Arizona. Um, and I think we've benefited from all of them, whether it's a learning curve or, um, benefiting financially or being able to help other people. So risk, just take the risk.
I love it. That's good. What do you do for fun?
Oh man. We like to get out on the boat, wakeboard. My kids play a lot of sports, so that's a lot of our time. Uh, what else do we do? I don't do much golfing anymore. I just don't have enough time. 4 or 5 hours a day is just too much. I don't know. I can't do it. I play basketball in the mornings. That's fun. 6
I love
a.m.
it.
It's always a good time. Try to keep myself in shape, like going to the gym, working out. Um, we do a lot of traveling as a family, so I like to see different areas. Spend some time in Arizona sometime. Uh, yeah, a lot of time with family. That's the life.
That's awesome. So, Drew, you've been amazing. I appreciate making time today and coming on for the past hour with us. So, for those listening, where can they find you?
okarthhomes.com or Facebook, Instagram, just Okarth Homes, and that's Hearth, Hearth. And yeah, so check us out. We do a few cool things. And anyways, I appreciate you having me on. It's been awesome. Huge fan. Always love what you guys do. Keep up the good work, man. Love it.
Appreciate you, Drew. Thank you, man.
All right, talk soon.
If you get value from the show, please support us by giving a 5-star rating and review on whatever platform you listen to. And I also have a favor to ask. We've had some incredible guests that come on and share their wisdom, their knowledge about their business. So if you have friends or family members that could benefit from those episodes, please share it with them, as well as any other business owners that you're networking with that could get value from the podcast or certain episodes. Please share those as well. Again, subscribe, make sure you're following. Any questions that you have, topics. We've had listeners reach out about certain guests that we should have on the show. Again, brad.l@aftconstruction.com. Email me for topics to address, guests that we should have on, and even if you think you'd be a great guest for the show. So again, thank you for all your support, and we'll see you next time.